Hi, welcome to Manas Shil YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Chapter 1, Walpurgis. End of Walpurgis. As I was asking myself if this was okay, he spoke to me, as if he had just remembered something. By the way, Rimuru, I was just wondering. I don't think I have anything else to hide anymore though. No, I doubt that, but that's okay. I was just curious about Michael's thoughts. How is he going to bring Veldora back? He pressed me to tell him what I knew. How the hell should I know, is what I was about to say when I remembered something. Oh, now that I think about it, he was saying something about that. Yeah. He mentioned it. I muttered, and Veldora, who was listening along, nodded. Yes, I think, Kufifufu. They seem to believe that, if they take in the power of the 3 true dragons, Veldora-sama will be revived with all of the dragon factors. I think it is foolish, but can we be absolutely sure that it wouldn't work? Diablo explained it, before I could remember. That's right, I remembered it was something like that. I had forgotten about it, because it didn't seem realistic at the time, and I didn't think such a method would be successful. In the first place, the dragon factor was the key. If it's about dragon factor, Master has also acquired it. Oh, I've become a true dragon of sorts, haven't I? So then, it's not surprising that I have the dragon factor. Be that as it may, Velzard, Velgrund, and Veldora. Even if you collect the dragon factor from all 3 true dragons, it's meaningless if the most important factor, Veldonova's, is missing. If the soul is different, then it's a different person. According to Diablo, it's not impossible, though. It's absurd, that theory. Even if you could recreate him, it would only be a pseudo-body, and while they might be able to imitate his skills, they wouldn't have anything to do with the soul, which is the most essential part. He interjected, seemingly to be of the same opinion as I was. I don't know. It's just that we can't deny the possibility that the lost soul could come back if they have a perfected body. Well, I guess. Veldora is a complete spiritual life form, so I don't think his soul was scattered like Roger's. You're right, it is possible. That theory still doesn't make sense. There is no reason to come back. In the first place, Veldora should be capable of regenerating his body himself, if he intends to return. That's right. Since Seal-san denied it, I was confidently skeptical of the enemy's plan. Well, it'll probably fail anyway, so if we just ignore it, then the enemy's goal may be Veldora. Everyone in the room stopped moving. Phew. Veldora's dumb mumbling echoed through the silent hall. He seemed to have no idea what that meant, but was leaving it to chance. What's more important now is what Ramirez had pointed out. Oops, that's a blind spot. Veldora was taken over once before, but they didn't take away the dragon factor at the time. I guess it's not the success rate that matters to Michael, only the possibility of it. In that case, regardless of whether Veldora would be resurrected or not, there was a good chance that Veldora's dragon factor would be targeted. Not good, I hadn't thought of the situation, where Velzard would be taken over, so I feel like I'm way behind the times. Abera also said that Emperor Rudra, in other words Michael, had taken over Velgrund's dragon factor. Now that Velzard is under control, all that remains is Veldora. Whoa, hold on a second. What do you mean? Are you saying that Velzard will also lose her dragon factor? Guy reacted to Milum's comment with a bit of panic. So I just said what I thought. Isn't that what makes sense? Then Guy showed an unusually agitated expression. In that case, Velzard won't be safe. She's good enough to fight me on equal terms, but she might just disappear. I wonder about that. In Velgrund's case, one of her parallel existences was absorbed. I think the amount of magicules was probably less than 10%, but that alone was just enough for Michael. After hearing this explanation, Guy regained his composure. I guess so. The power of a true dragon is immense, so they can't be absorbed that easily. I nodded. At the time, Velgrund had suffered considerable damage from Carrera's judgment, but she still had a considerable amount of power left. In fact, Michael had taken in Velgrund's power with Yuki's skills still life, but he could not absorb it completely. In addition, I also had an idea of why Michael had banished Velgrund from this world. Also, it's not just the strength and factors that are taken away, but also the skills. Doing so would remove the absolute control over the angelic skill system, so if he doesn't act carefully, he'll get struck with a counterattack. That's why Michael would want to use Velzard to weaken her, and then take the factor away and banish her. I agree. Well, sometimes I can be quite brilliant as well. But why would he need to take away their powers? If he has absolute control, wouldn't it be wiser to use them as a pawn, rather than to use and banish them? That's also true. Michael's skill can be used over the skills of a user. I don't see any reason to take it away. Seal-san agreed with me, so I had thought my reasoning was perfect. Well then, do you think it's necessary for Veldonava to revive by gathering all of the skills in Michael's hands? Dagril spoke up, leaving me to mourn. So, you don't mind ignoring the demonic and other derived skills? That's right. Maybe Veldonava thinks that the only pure skills are the ones he used to possess. This time, it was Rumina's. Just listening to our conversation seemed to have led to a very profound conclusion. A perfect Veldonava, in other words, gathering pure skills, in order to recreate the omnipotent being that created all skills. It sounds far-fetched, but if that's the case, I don't think that wish is going to come true. With Leon over here, it's impossible for them to gather all of the skills. He laughed invincibly, but I don't think it's that easy. If that reasoning was correct, then we would have already defeated Michael's strategic goal at this point. Because, or rather Seal-san, had already consumed the Wisdom King, Raphael, the Covenant King, Uriel, and even the Charity King, Rigel. Seal-san spoke up to my worried self. Velgrund, deprived of the dragon factor, could no longer maintain her existence, and was certain to disappear even without space-time transfer. Before she disappeared, Master released the main body, so I assume that all of the energy was reintegrated. In that case, why did he go to the trouble of banishing her? Perhaps he was afraid it would resurrect her. Even if he took away the dragon factor, he couldn't destroy the soul or the core, heart. There, I believe he was trying to prevent the resurrected Velgrund from taking revenge on him. If you can't come to a perfect conclusion, it means you can't be sure. That's probably why Seal-san has been avoiding this topic. She's still a perfectionist, but she's been very helpful even as my advisor. I wonder if Seal-san is concerned about what would happen if Velgrund was resurrected without losing her skills. That's right. The disappearance would be certain, but she would probably be released from control. If that happened, that could incur the wrath of Velgrund, who would still have memories of the time when she was being controlled. If she discovered she was being dominated by the skill, she may leave the Charity King, Rigel, who caused it, gain her freedom, and reappear before Michael. So, banishment was the way to go then, was it? Since there would be no one left to use it, it makes sense to keep the useful skills. If that was the case, then the theory of recapturing skills that is currently being discussed is wrong. In the first place, I wonder if I can recreate a skill I've created before as many times as I want. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I wanted to say too. I was relieved to see that Seal-san's self-confidence was getting better than before. Now that I had collected my thoughts, I decided to join the discussion once again. I think it's beneficial to gather skills, but it has nothing to do with the revival of Veldonava, does it? I think what we should focus on is the dragon factor. Are you trying to change the subject? Dagril looks at me doubtfully. He seemed to be fed up with inconclusive topics, and I understood that feeling well. There was nothing more meaningless than a meeting with no conclusions. That's why I was going to make a quick conclusion right here. No, it's a matter of certainty. Michael didn't say anything about the skills, so I think that was an afterthought. You may continue. Well, not that I even needed permission from Rumina's. I'm not sure why she was being so pompous, but I think it was better to end the discussion, rather than to question it here. This was not an escape. Absolutely not. So I came to a conclusion. If the skills really are important, then I know of someone besides Leon who has one. So I think we should ignore them, and work to keep Veldora out of the hands of the enemy. You sound confident. Well, yeah. I know I confused you a bit when I told you they took my skills, but please don't worry about that. When I said that, Guy stared at me thoughtfully. It's annoying that I still don't know why they took Velgrund's skill. Fine then. I'll trust you. Guy was a lot more understanding than I thought. For the time being, we've made our decision. Some might say that we were only going back to the conclusion we had come to earlier, but we can't let that bother us. So then, yeah. I guess we should be wary of letting Velzard and Veldora meet. I'm counting on you, Remure. That's what Guy said. It may look like he's trying to push the responsibility on me, but it'll take a long time to dig in, so I'll just nod. As is often the case, when one is fed up with discussions, I was in a mood to just let things go. So then, I knew it. I was in a very important position, wasn't I? I couldn't help but be annoyed at Veldora, who said stupid things without even taking the discussion seriously. Currently, we were behind. We had to admit that, but we could make up for it. Veldora had nothing to do with the angelic system, and had already escaped the control of the Regalia Dominion. The enemy was probably aware of this, so their next move would probably be a straightforward one. If that happened, it would be an all-out war, so I think the first priority would be to bring the angelic owners together first. If it were me, I would definitely act cautiously, but I didn't know which strategy Michael would mainly adopt. But there was no rush. There was no doubt that the enemy's main objective was Veldora, so we could take steps to prevent it. In the worst-case scenario, it might be a good idea to eliminate Leon's control circuit, though I didn't want to do it. Well, I wish you all the best. If anything happens, get in contact right away. With these words as the final conclusion, the Walpurgis, which had been a dull affair with not the slightest sense of cooperation, finally came to an end. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.